Alright, so round one of the team event versus my friend Luke. This is set up. Sorry about the potato cam. So we got Tyranids versus the Granites. So we've got a big paladin squad there. There's a Terminator squad in reserve. And this is a team event. So we're versing it's normal blokes, yeah? Number 1 or 2? Or you got like 7?
Just send it.
Just send it, okay.
Just gotta send it.
You just gotta send it. Alright. Round 1, versing Luke, and he's playing his Granites. Unfortunately, the footage for the time-lapse didn't work. The rest of them did, just this round 1 didn't, and my apologies for that. I'll just go do a quick recap of the game. So I went first against Luke, and this is a shock horror. I actually went first for all my games, which I wasn't expecting, and it helped in a lot of the games, not all of them, but nonetheless. I went first here. In this game, it definitely did go help going first. As you can see with his Granite list, it's got big Paladin brick, Terminator brick, etc. And so it got me into his lines because he took Raise the Banners, but from turn 1 I was on his home objective. So by the end of the game, he only scored 4 points on that. And because I had the pressure on him most of the game, I really got to control where he came. Like I got the board control in essence. You can see in the final scores I have up on the screen. The game was reasonably close. I did get the win, 81 to 62, and Luke managed to push out on the, I think turn 4. He started getting out to halfway on the board, but it was just too late by then because it took him a little bit too long to get out of his kind of little castle in his deployment zone. Anyway, it was a very fun game. It was a really good start to my return to tournaments. It was my first tournament in over a year. I've done the TTS thing, as you guys know, but I did have a little of that nervousness in going back into it. But it was very fun. And on to the next game. Alrighty, round 2, and I'm versing Mr. Dylan from Gold Coast, guys. And we are playing Necrons. And I haven't played much Necrons in 9th Ed. And this is definitely a different list to what most people are running. I've not seen some of these units at all. And we're playing Vital Intel. Get the idea. Lots of characters, lots of big monkeys. Alright, so yes, against Dylan and his Necrons. As you can see, he's using some of the big walkers, or I call them big monkeys in the intro. And Satan, I think it's a Transcendent Satan, the Nightbringer. So I think the main concept is it's got lots of mortal wound output. Hard to shift, walkers and things like that, and then a big brick of warriors that just kind of teleport around and doing shenanigans. It's an interesting list, but I don't think it matches that well against me, just because I got the Democurions and the Hive Tyrant. They're all doing flat 4 damage, so all the Scarabs they're not that much of a threat, even though they're obsec and they can move fast. I can deal with them, and my army is one of the few armies in the game. There are other armies, but not that many armies can kill a Satan in one turn. Because I can do lots of wounds in the shooting phase, I can do lots of wounds in the psychic phase, and then I'm reasonably good in combat. And that's how I dealt with both of the Satans in one turn. In turn 1, I shot at them, dropped them down 3 wounds. They regained 1 wound and pushed out into the middle. Killed the Democurion in the middle, which you'll see in a moment. And then it gave me a perfect situation to then shoot, drop them down 3 wounds, psychic power, drop them down another 3 wounds each, and then charge them. I managed to kill 1 and got 1 down to 1 wound, so he managed to save 1, and then I killed him with the warrior. on that final swing, which was useful. So this first turn on the screen now, I managed to get, because the relentless expansionist with his scarabs slightly forward and to the outside, but it just made, because I went first, it made my charge just a little bit easier. I think it went from a 9-inch charge to like a 7-inch charge, and I managed to get, with a reroll, CP reroll, and the psychic, the lure, the Kraken psychic power, which rerolls charges, I got both charges off. I killed quite a few of the scarabs, and then I finished him off in this next turn, both of the units. So it meant that Dylan's scoring abilities with those scarabs, because he took the Necron ancient machineries, and he was relying on his block of warriors or his scarabs to do that, but you can't. It's like planting the flag. You can't do it if someone's on top of it. And I made sure, because I got first turn, I made sure I was on almost all the objectives the whole game. So he only got I think it was 9 points for that, all up, and he had to use his big block of 20 warriors to do that. So he shot one turn, and then the rest of the game he was just doing those actions. And not, I couldn't kill them really, because he managed to kill, most of the big guys, but it didn't make a difference. I was just standing on the objectives, and he, and making him having to walk around, go onto another thing to plant the banner, etc. So yeah, that I think it was like looking back at it now, because I hadn't played it before, but I thought it was okay. It was an okay matchup, but now looking back at it, I think my army has all the tools to deal with his particular army, and it only gets worse if I happen to go first. If I happen to push out and get the board control and stand on most of the objectives turn one, and then dictate the pace of the game for the rest of the game, it makes it really hard. So it's in the red, green, and yellow vernacular. I think it was like a light green matchup, but because I went first, it made it a green. So it was more just how much of a win I was going to get. And as it turned out, so we're going through the game now, but as it turned out, it was a 91 to 52 in my favor, which was that's a good win. And I'm just trying to think, was there something interesting? Yeah, I think, I can't remember exactly, but I think my Demachirion, the middle Demachirion, which got double moved by the Swarm Lord, he went for a charge, it was like a 9-inch charge, failed it and just stood there and then died in return, but it kind of, not baited, but it brought out his two Satans in the middle, which meant I could do the Psychic powers reasonably easily. But then this Demachirion, kind of down the bottom of the screen, it charged this what's it called, the Necron Lord on the DS, on the vehicle thing. That guy got shot at, charged, rampaged, and survived everything. I managed to kill it in the fourth or fifth turn, but it just wouldn't die. It was just such a pain in the ass to deal with. He had, I think he had a relic on it. Well, you'll see on the list. I'll have it posted up, but I think he had a relic on it, and he just made a whole bunch of his saves, which was pretty good. One of the other cool things I kept on trying to do was just keep on tagging his vehicles. While he can shoot in combat, it just meant that I could kind of dictate where and when they moved, which was definitely very useful. And while you can't get neg 2 to hit anymore, my Hive Tyrant's neg 1 to hit against range, because I take the Kraken Relic, and then the heavy weapons from the big Chicken Walker thing, it just meant he was not getting as much efficiency as he could have. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. So you can see the general movement of my big guys. I still have the Demachirion that finished clearing up the Scarabs at the top, and he's just swinging around now, as a kind of cleanup crew. And pretty much the whole game, my Hive Guard are just shooting every turn, just shoot. So this was a perfect game for the Hive Guard. I made sure I zoned out all of my back area for the teleport, for the Veil of Darkness. I think that's the one it's called. And then just kept on standing on objectives, keeping his warriors in combat. This is another good thing I did. I think I did well, is keeping the warriors in combat, just so they couldn't do the action. So, because you can't fall back and do the action. And that's pretty much it. Alrighty, round 3 of the events. We're doing reasonably well. Here's my team. And we've got my red matchup. I didn't really want to verse this because my Demokirians don't really do that much against this stuff. We've got Morty and a whole bunch of 4-drilled knights. Look at this craziness. And then there's me hiding. And we rolled off, and I got the I won first turn. Alright, so as you heard in the intro, this is not a particularly good matchup for me. I'd consider it a red. Not so much because of the knights. I mean, these 4-drilled knights are not good against me. I'm not good against these 4-drilled knights just because I have monsters, and I think it's the green ones. When they get into combat, they're doing like a d6 plus 2 damage each, something insane like that. But it's mainly Morty. At -1 damage, generally -1 to hit, and then you've got the no reroll, Warlord trait and stuff like that. It just made it really difficult to kill all the little stuff while running away from Morty. And on this mission, where it's just got you can see it's the Hammer and Anvil 4 objective mission. It's not a good mission if you're just playing keep away. Like if we're playing pretty much any other mission, I can maybe run away from Morty and deal with the other stuff. But when it's Hammer and Anvil, everything's cramped together. And you can see I made one of my first mistakes. I make 2 minor mistakes in this game. One of them is the Demokiran in the middle. It should be back about 6 inches and just touching that objective. And instead, I put it in the gap there. But it's within striking range of Morty. And so, while I'm kind of sacrificing my Hive Tyrant and my Demokiran here, because he's got enough to deal with those two, I'm actually sacrificing this other Demokiran down here for Morty. And so rather than just losing 1 Demokiran and 1 Hive Tyrant because I killed I think 3 of his little knights, which is an okay trade, I'm actually losing 2 Demokirans and a Hive Tyrant, which is a really bad trade. It should be 6 inches back, making Morty do, I think it was like a 9, it was probably more than 9, like that's about a 4 or 5 inch charge right there. So if I was just touching that objective and like 6 maybe even 8 inches back, just making it almost impossible to charge. So that was my first minor mistake, losing a Demokiran for absolutely nothing. And then, but my target priority I think is really, really good. I'm just dealing with all the, I'm ignoring Morty as much as possible, dealing with all the little knights, getting rid of his ability to score objectives, engage on all front, and then they bring it down points in it. And because he took While We Stand We Fight, one of which is Morty, and then 2 units of 3, because the way these knight units are, they come in units of 3, and then they split apart. So I managed to kill all but 1 of the knights by the end of the game, and it meant that I knocked down one of his While We Stand, and at the same time got full 15 for my Bring It Down, and prevented him from getting, he only got 4 for Engage, because I just kept him in his deployment zone. And even when Morty's kind of floating about, Nick's he's only got, by the end of the game, he's only got 2 units, so you can't get well engaged on all fronts with only 2. One of the things I think he made a mistake on, it was like he kept on pushing up, and it was fine. Like, he was shooting at my Hive Guard. I can understand why he was going for it, but instead of shooting at my Hive Guard and maybe killing 1 or 2 of them a turn, he should have been looking to stand. You can see the Morax, I think it's called, on the left. It should have been standing on the objective, and then eventually pushing up to get the kind of while we stand, not while we stand, engage in all fronts. He was just trying to get the angles onto those Hive Guard, and you can see like he's like 1 inch away from the objective. But if he stood on the objective, he wouldn't be able to shoot the Hive Guard, and so he went for the Hive Guard instead of the objective, which really hurt him. Like, I mean, I know I do kill him now, in this last turn, but let's say I didn't, or even the last turn, he would have been able to score a little bit extra, because in his primary he got, was it 15? He got 5, 5, 5, 15, so that's 30 points all up. At the end of the game, it was a 1 point difference, so it was a drawn game. Had he got 1 extra primary, or a couple of extra engage points, even just 1 extra turn of engage, he would have got 1 extra point for his team. Anyway, it was a very good game. I also should have spent 1 CP, I think it was turn 4, in re-rolling wounds on my Demachirion. I got a little bit greedy and I got punished for it. I rolled a whole bunch of 2s, which killed my Demachirion, and it was not good. Anyway, on to the next round. Alright, round 4, versing Sun Tzu, and we've got a Lachlan Carter stand-in. He's very happy, obviously. We're playing my Tyranids versus a wonderful Soaring Spite Harlequin army. Very similar to the TTS army I'm playing right now against the Germans. Hopefully I have a better result though than that game. And these are the rest of the guys. There's Liam in the end, Mr. Ben and Rory. Got 1 million possessed against Raven Guard. That'll be interesting. Alright, so as you saw in the intro, Zach was a stand-in for Lachlan because he had to. He plays a netball, and he had I think a game or a tournament or something happening at the same time. So he had to miss this game, and Zach's overall strategy was fine. He did most of the kind of in terms of deployment and overall kind of view of how he thought the game was going to go. That was all fine, and we were reasonably close. Up until about. It was the bottom of turn, I think it was turn 3. Top of turn 3, yeah. Top of turn 3 is when things started falling apart. So he made quite a few saves. I actually kept track of this. He made 5 out of 7 5+ strength tests. Just got to keep that in mind. Especially on the bikes, which is a pain in the ass. I double swung with 1 Demachirion, plus hit with another Demachirion. So that's 18 attacks, swinging at 4+ invulnerable bikes, and I killed 2. So he was on fire for his saves, let's just say that. And then the strength test was absolute baller. So, yeah, bottom of turn 2, going into turn 3, I was like, I don't know. And Zach himself said, I think we're getting, I'm still in this game. However, as anyone who plays Harlequins as a main, which, as you guys know, I do, as you know, all you need is a little bit of a spike of unluckiness in those 4-up invos, and your game plan absolutely collapses. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Mr. Zach. And there was a few little movement position things on his turn 2. So he zooms out. I'll consider them mistakes just because if I was playing in the same instance, and I'll talk about them, but if I was playing in the same instance, I probably would have not done it or would have supported it a bit better. So what am I talking about? Top right, you can see there's a Starweaver, right? In that is the Murder Master. It's the the Troop Master that can jump out and punch and all that type of stuff. It's there by himself, and there's no other boat nearby. So that means if that boat dies, that Murder Master is kind of out of position, because you can see where all my artillery is. It's down the middle or just bottom right hand side. So if that vehicle dies, which it's going to in his next turn, he's really out of position with his with a key piece. It's like a queen in essence in chess. That Troop Master, as I found out to my great despair in the against the German team, can actually pick up all 12 of the Hive Guard in one swoop if it gets close, and if it has a transport. If it doesn't have a transport and is not within say 24 inches of my dudes, then it's kind of neutered. Also, the bottom left hand corner, he zoomed 1 wound Starweaver with a unit of dudes inside, and kind of behind that ruin. I flew up with my Hive Tyrant, as you can just see, 1 smite and then a scream. I think I did a scream then the smite, but regardless, I killed the boat, and then I killed most of the guys inside, and I shot a couple of extra shots at them, plus then I could charge for my Hive Tyrant. So I cleared out, because they weren't supported, I cleared out the bottom left and the bottom right, and the top right, and now I didn't have to worry about the flanks anymore. And that's where Harlequins really excel. They want to surround you, they want you to make a mistake, and then they can pounce. And then, because there wasn't enough, I guess, pressure, or whatever you want to call it, or support on those kind of flanks, and I was doing my best to keep him busy. You can see the Democurions, they've just been running around in the middle all game long. Like, I threw 2 in turn 1, I threw another one in turn 2. He's dealing with it, but he's pushing out to the flanks and then not supporting it enough. I guess that's probably the best way to explain it. I know what it is in my head, but I think the best way to explain it is just it's not fully supported, which means when on turn 3 he failed a bunch of saves, it all just collapsed. And so it went from reasonably even game turn 2, but then you can see here he charges in with his bikes at my Hive Tyrant, doesn't kill the Hive Tyrant, and then he spends the 2 CP for reroll wounds rather than bounce out, which means my Hive Tyrant then just picked them all up, because I'm doing flat 4 damage on my swords. And you get the idea, just a little bit of unluckiness. So this was turn 3, a little bit of unluckiness, and everything's been picked up. He's now just got like 7 or 8 models back in his back corner. In one turn, it just all flipped. And that can happen. And that was pretty much it. So we talked out. Well, I did what I had to do, but we talked out the last few turns. I think turn 5 was literally, because he didn't have any models. I think I killed everything on turn 4. Sorry, I killed the last model on turn 4, and then I just get the turn 5 score. Hopefully, Zach, if you watch this game afterwards, you still had some fun. But as I said to you after the game, your overall strategy I think was fine. It was just some lack of support on the wings. Alright, last round, versing the Strength Cartel, versing Mr. Wayne and his Death Guard. No Morty in sight, which is good. I don't like Morty, and he doesn't like me. And we're playing priority targets. Here's all my big bugs. And for the 5th time this round, I'm going first.
No, that's my priority one.
Alright, so playing Wayne and his Death Guard. Because there's no Morty, and it's kind of like a big bubble of Death Guard, I liked the matchup. I thought it was an okay matchup. The tanks, so the big Plague Burst Crawl and things like that, is always a pain to deal with. And so that was my main goal, was just to stay away from the main, what's it called, like the main castle in the middle, kill the flesh mower drone things, because they're a pain in the ass, and you know, you can flick the droning on them, or not droning, but you know, the other contagion on them when they dive into you, and then just be annoying. And just minimize the out of line of sight shooting from the Plague Burst crawlers by just keeping him in combat. So that was pretty much my game plan. Just stay away from the middle as much as possible. Tag his vehicles and slowly whittle them down. And luckily, that it pretty much went off exactly as expected. That's what I just described is how the game went, pretty much. I got a double move off on one of the Demachirions. Because I did a lure, I got a reroll charge, and I rerolled the charge. Sorry, the footage just cut out for some reason. That's unfortunate. I'll just quickly talk over it. Yeah, because I got the reroll charge off, I got my charge, but I re-rolled it and I got a really big charge. I think it was like 10 inches. I jumped over the drone and the little dudes, and then piled into the Plague Burst crawler turn 1. And so from turn 1, I had at least one Plague Burst crawler in combat. He got some shots off in his turn 2. He got some shots off. Killed, I think, 4 of my Hive Guard. Moved, pushed up, etc. And then my turn 2, my Hive Tyrant goes in. My Demachirion falls back and then charges again because it didn't die. It made a whole bunch of saves, which was very nice. And so I then had, because when he pushed up the bottom center Plague Burst crawler, it meant that there was a position. He wasn't expecting me to survive, and there was a spot where I could charge and kind of tag both of these Plague Burst crawlers. So turn 2 onwards, I had his Plague Burst crawlers in combat for the rest of the game. I just kept on throwing, like, anytime he wasn't, you know, it wasn't dead, I'd get another Demachirion in. I'd send something else in, or I had killed it by combat or shooting. Which made the game much, much easier. So by turn 3, I'd killed both of the drone things, the flesh mowers. I killed all the little zombie guys, except for the one that was right in the back corner. I killed 2 of the 3 Plague Burst mortars, and the other one was in combat or had just fallen back. And then I started picking off the Plague Marines. And that was pretty much it. Wayne just kept on hiding on his back objective and just conserving points. In the end, however, it wasn't enough. I managed to kill all the while we fight guys. So his Terminator dudes, I don't know what they're called. They came from Strategic Reserve, or Deep Strike, I think, sorry. Top corner, because I'd zoned out most of the stuff on near all my artillery. They failed the charge, and so then my Demachirion went over and killed, I think, 3 of them. He hit back in return, didn't kill my Demachirion. I swung back, I killed another one, and he had 1 left. Killed the Demachirion, but then my Zoanthrope, my Neuranthrope, advanced and did a smite and got a 3 on the thing and killed the last one. And that was on the last turn. So I managed to kill all the Wild Stands with the Swarm Lord diving his home objective, double moving himself, which was cool. He managed to get priority orders, but that's because almost nobody is going to fail priority. And he only got 4 points on despoil for a total of 99 to 49. I picked basic ones which didn't actually involve me engaging him, other than, you know, just trying to slow his damage down, which was priority target, which everyone's going to do, engage on all fronts, and domination. And because you generally on 5 mission ones, especially priority orders, you just pick those 3. They're almost gimmies. Like, I got 15, 14, 15 on the secondaries. Anyway, overall, the tournament was great. I think we came like, I don't know, 7th or something like that. We were doing well. Like we beat Liam's team. I think they came 2nd, so we actually beat them. We drew against the team that came 3rd, so that was the just got to send it. I won 4 out of 5 of my games, and then drew 1, so undefeated, which is great. And full props to the Strength Cartel, this team. So while I unfortunately broke Wayne's unbeaten record at this tournament, the other 3 games went in their favour, and so they got some good wins. Anyway, I'll catch you guys next time.